Operation Lafiya Dole at Mimilari in Maiduguri for the periodical briefing of the Theatre Commander Operation Lafiya Dole, Major General Irabor. He will be giving an update on the operation of troops across areas in the northeast to flush out Boko Haram terrorists. Operation Lafiya Dole is the code name of the counter-insurgency operations, which was launched after President Muhammadu Buhari took over the mantle of leadership last year. I'll now hand you over to the military spokesman for the introductions.
The Theatre Commander, sir, Operation Lafiya Dole, Major General Irabor, the component commanders, Principal Staff Officers, Headquarters, Theatre Command here present, Formation Commanders, Commanding Officers, Senior Officers, Gentlemen Officers, Members of the Press, Ladies and Gentlemen. I am Captain Emmanuel Onyachonam, and I'm most delighted to welcome you all to Headquarters Theatre Command, Military Command and Control Center, Operation Lafiya Dole, for Theatre Commanders live press conference today, 21st December 2016. As you are all aware, the military is currently engaged in an operation to clear the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists from the depths of Sambisa Forest, in line with the command's resolve to keep Nigerians public abreast with every development on the ongoing operation. That is the reason for this press conference. It is now my honor and singular privilege to most respectfully invite the Theatre Commander, Operation Lafiya Dole, to kickstart the press conference. The Theatre Commander, sir.
Thank you. The Maritime and Air Component Commanders, Commander Army Headquarters Logistics Base 1, other commanders here, Principal Staff Officers, the liaison officer from the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the liaison officers from Cameroon and Niger Republics, ladies and gentlemen of the press, good afternoon. Let me warn that part of what you're going to see might be disturbing. We apologize, but again, we have no choice but to let Nigerians know what the issues are. Ladies and gentlemen, let me once again welcome you to the Theatre Command, Operation Lafiya Dole, for this press conference. Today, I'm glad to inform you that our troops have continued to record outstanding progress in the fight against Boko Haram terrorists. Since the last time we met, a lot of significant progress was made. And so I intend to use this opportunity to update you or bring you up to speed what we have done since our last meeting. And I'll start with the update on Operation Rescue Final. The operation in Sambisa Forest has continued, and so far our troops have cleared and dominated almost the whole of Sambisa Forest, including the Boko Haram terrorist enclaves at Guneri, Guninkrumi, Alafa 1, 2, 3, Bulabello, Njimia. Others are Amdaga, Bita, Sasawa, Dokumberi, Jefe, Indemina, Turori, and Sambisa Gate 1. And I think that for ease of understanding, let me possibly recap what I showed you the last time so that you can also see what I've just spoken about. If you don't mind, would you mind to focus on the screen? The last time I told us of the axis of advance, and this gives you an indication where we are. And of course, I told you that the operation was from different fronts, from 4 fronts precisely. And so what we've done, very quickly, run through quickly. What we've done is to occupy the entire place. Now, where I want you to focus attention right now is Camp Zero. As I speak to you, the troops have, they are conducting operation in that general direction. I'm not going to give you further details because the operation is ongoing. And I just thought it's essential for you to have that understanding using the map. Now, again, of course, that is giving you, a bird's eye view of what Sambisa and environs, what they look like right on the screen. Okay, so let's make progress. Now, destruction of a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. This, what you're also going to see, is part of the operation in Sambisa Forest. I mentioned it to a few of us, but of course, since this is a live, press briefing, I think the rest of the world may need to know. Following the attack on position at the harbor in Bulabelu on the 13th of December at about 15:41 hours, own troops conducted mop-up operation at the staging areas on the 14th. And during the mop-up operation, we discovered a vehicle-borne IED. And of course, what you could see from the screen, is a vehicle that was intended for the troops and their location, their harbor position. This is actually the harbor area. And so they came, and our vigilant troops used RPG-7 to take it out. What you find, these are cylinders. These are gas cylinders that have been opened up and filled with explosive, which Boko Haram thought they would use to come to destabilize our troops, but that, of course, was taken. And during that operation, a good number of them were killed and equipment recovered. Now, the equipment that was recovered, apart from GPMGs, FN rifles, ammunition, as well as RPG bomb, of course, you could see some of them right on the screen. Now, ambushed by our own troops. Own troops, again, conducted some ambush operations within the period, and I will run through them. On the 15th, at about 08:06 hours, own troops in conjunction with Vigilante sprang an ambush at Berema Farm along Gonori Damboa Road. The troops, in the process, apprehended suspected Boko Haram terrorists and sympathizers, comprising 20 men and 61 members of their families, as shown on the screen. And the suspects, of course, were relocated from Fulus village, which is north of Kafa village in Kaga local government area of Borno State. And they were relocating to Gunuri when they, of course, came under our ambush operation. And the suspects currently are undergoing interrogation. On the 17th, at about 0900 hours, own troops again sprung an ambush along Paul Carl Banki Junction Road, where they intercepted and engaged some Boko Haram terrorists, and at the Frigate crossing point. 2 of the Boko Haram terrorists were killed in action, while a boy of about 12 years old that was with the Boko Haram terrorists was also injured in the process. The boy, who of course later on claimed that he was captured by the Boko Haram terrorists, has since been evacuated to our hospital and is currently being treated. Of course, we have also gotten some useful information from him that has aided our operations. The items recovered, of course, include a motorcycle spare tire, 1 AK-47 rifle, as well as 28 rounds of ammunition, as well as a suicide bomber's vest, which was strapped on one of the killed Boko Haram terrorists. So perhaps I believe that they were going to hopefully, assign that suicide bomber to one of our positions. But of course, he may met his Waterloo during the ambush. Now, person-borne improvised explosive devices. During the period under review, own troops had to contain a few incidences of person-borne improvised explosive device attacks. On the 15th of December, at about 08:10 hours, 2 female suicide bombers that were clad in hijab attempted to infiltrate own defensive locations in Limankara. Limankara, of course, that's just Madagali, Goza Road. In between is Limankara. They were shot by own troops, and of course, as they refused to halt from a distance. Consequently, the IED vests strapped on their bodies exploded and killed the 2 of them. That you could see from the screen. Again, on that same 15th, at about 10:30 hours, own troops at Ran is in Calabar local government, intercepted a girl that was trapped in suicide vest trying to infiltrate into Ran town. A member of the civilian JTF grabbed and suppressed her as she was attempting to detonate the explosive device strapped on her, thereby unable to detonate it. And that is the suicide vest that she was wearing before she was caught. Another incident was on the 18th of December, where 2 suicide bombers attempted to sneak past through own locations at Mafa checkpoint, just at the outskirts of Maiduguri. The 2 suicide bombers were shot when they failed to stop at a distance. The explosive device detonated and killed the 2 of them. That, of course, could see shreds of body parts. Similarly, on the 18th of December, at about 20:55 hours, own troops sighted 2 suicide bombers trying to cross into town through Gameri village. The suspects were challenged by own troops from a distance, and when one of the suicide bombers realized, of course, and panicked, the suicide vest was detonated, and that killed her and the second suicide bomber. However, the suicide vest on the second suicide bomber did not explode, which later on we called in the EOD team to detonate them. And apart from the 2 suicide bombers that were killed, 3 civilians were also wounded in that incident. The injured civilians were evacuated to Maiduguri General Hospital for medical attention. Of course, I also mentioned that the EOD team, which of course came from the police, were contacted and they neutralized it. NEMA as well as ICRC personnel were brought in to disinfect the general area. Now, let me make a comment on these incidences of improvised explosive device attacks. I have, following the spate of increase, I requested the Commissioner of Police of BORNE State and that of Adamawa State, as well as the State Director, Department of State Service, BORNE State, that they need to heighten their operations to ensure that all cases of suicide bomb attacks and IED will be brought to a close. They are doing quite well. They have heightened their operations, and of course, with intent to locate where these suicide bombers have been where they have been sent from, and possibly the laboratories where the suicide bomb vests, which they usually put on, where they are assembled. So these are things just to let you know that there's some form of collaboration that is ongoing, and I think that in due course you'll be informed. Now, again, within the period, we have conducted clearance patrols. Own troops conducted some clearance patrols in suspected Boko Haram terrorist enclaves. On the 15th, at about 11:15 hours, own troops conducted a robust clearance patrol in the general area of Kangarwa, Metele, Dogunchuku. Again, I've told you that at the fringes of Lake Chad, we have we are doing a lot of cleanup to ensure that into the Lake Chad waters, we're able to provide the environment that will enhance the operation of the maritime components that are about beginning their operations in a few days from now. So this operation that I've just talked about, this clearance operation, is geared towards that. So during that operation, of course, we killed one of the Boko Haram terrorists, and we also got one elderly man who of course, confessed that he is the Amir of the Boko Haram and the entire Tumbus. The Tumbus are some isolated, islands on the Lake Chad. And of course, because of the gunshot wound that was inflicted on him, he died afterwards. So, of course, one of our soldiers, as well as our vehicle, was destroyed by the RPG-7 bomb which the Boko Haram terrorists fired. And then, of course, the soldier was also wounded. The soldier is already recovering from our hospital. On the 18th of December, at about 08:30 hours, own troops conducted clearance operation to Massa village, which is in Gulumbagana, towards Gulumbagana. After that, of course, we also entered Gulumbagana, and as well as Arinjinkori, Zangeri villages. And in that operation, the troops rescued 67 female adults, 23 male children, and 19 female children that were held hostage at Massa village. The following day, which was on the 19th, at about 06:45 hours, our advance to Gulumbagana saw the troops, having contact with the Boko Haram terrorists, who, on sighting us, they were also running, but at the same time engaging us. We killed 15 of them, and then, of course, some weapons were also recovered. Then the motorcycles that they were using, 18 of them, as well as 25 bicycles, were destroyed in situ. Troops also discovered 4 solar panels, as well as spare barrels, spare tires, which the Boko Haram terrorists were using. But unfortunately, in that operation, we lost a soldier, and one other was wounded. Both the killed and the wounded were airlifted from the area back to Maiduguri for treatment, and the other one is awaiting burial. Now, rescue of fishermen. Some of you may have heard this. On the 18th of December 2016, at about 10:10 hours, own troops in gunboats received a distress call. We have a gunboat company that dominates the Alu Dam waters. So they received a distress call that some of the fishermen have been kidnapped by the Boko Haram terrorists. And of course, immediately they swung to action, and 15 of the fishermen were rescued. But one of the fishermen, one of them was killed, and we're told that one was taken away by the Boko Haram terrorists on the arrival of our troops. Now, of course, you can see from the screen those that were rescued. Interception of suspected rustled cows, ram, and sheep. On the 16th of December, at about 16:05 hours, own troops deployed at FOB Dikwa in conjunction with Vigilante intercepted 57 rams and sheep at a Boko Haram terrorist suspected crossing point along Dikwa Ajiri Road. The animals, which were suspected to have been rustled, were intercepted without owners, and they are currently under our custody, which, of course, eventually we handed them over to the appropriate government agency for further action. Now, release of detainees to Borno State government. Again, within the period, there were some detainees that were cleared that we handed over to the Borno State government. A total of 299 of them were handed over. Now, next is also handover of IDPs. This time around, we received a total of 116 men, 147 women, and 248 children of Nigerian nationality that were handed over to our troops in Banki by the Cameroonian forces. They were screened and moved to IDP camp. However, among those who claimed to be IDPs, 8 of them were identified to be Boko Haram terrorists, and of course we have taken them into detention. Besides that, of course, 15 of them, who are confirmed Boko Haram terrorists, were handed over to our troops, and the suspects, of course, are in our custody. Now, suspected Boko Haram escapees. On the 16th, at about 13:05 hours, following a tip-off from the locals, own troops in conjunction with members of Vigilante apprehended 2 suspected Boko Haram terrorist female escapees from Azare general area. The women revealed that they came out from Sambisa forest, and currently they are undergoing interrogation. Now, discovery of ammunition. Just this morning, about 600 rounds of 7.62 NATO ammunition were discovered, and they were hidden in a plastic container. You can see on the screen. It was, they put those we suspect to be Boko Haram terrorists, put these rounds into that plastic container and hid it, in the stream around the Gwangi area of BORNE. Of course, that tells you that the heat is on, and I believe that we're going to discover more of that. I want to believe that it was when they were leaving the city that they may have done that, hoping that if we do not discover, maybe at some later stage, one criminal could go back and pick it up for other untoward uses. Now, similarly, let me say that during this period, that is 14th to 21st, just to speak for 1 week, a total of 1,880 civilians were rescued from the Boko Haram terrorist enclave. Similarly, between the same period, a total of 564 Boko Haram terrorist members were arrested, while 19 others surrendered to our troops. Also, 7 suspected kidnappers and 37 foreigners were equally arrested within this period. Now, let me say something on this surrender. We have received intelligence that Boko Haram terrorists want to surrender to us and to the Communal forces. That I have directed all the commanders to be on the alert, and of course to be ready to receive them if they give up the fight. But where they fail, of course, they will not lose their guard. The same I've also communicated to the Communal forces, the commander, on that. Now, of course, that's the breakdown, as you can see on the screen. Now, let me say that within this period, we have, I mentioned to you that we intend to embark on road construction. That we are doing, and right on the screen there, you see our soldiers that are undertaking road construction. We want to open up roads into Sambisa. Besides assisting us in our operations, that again, going forward, will help to dominate the general area of Sambisa, which I believe that in due course, the government is going to improve on whatever we're going to leave behind in terms of road construction. So that is on, not just from Aulari Azis, we're also doing it from along Belambulin Azis, everything into Sambisa. Later on, we go into Alagando. It must be such that all those places where we've had difficulties in entering, we will have them roads opened up to improve on the going and accessibility of these areas that have proven difficult during the course of our operations. Now, let me also mention that within this period, we received some logistics resupply, some items including arms, ammunition, as well as spare parts for our equipment. That's, of course, those are the equipment that we have received in theater. They've been moved down here. This was when they were receiving them in Abuja, and they will receive them down here. That, again, is going to significantly boost our operations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have watched, very sadly, a video clip that has been circulated in the social media regarding our troops. Our troops, of course, I don't know to show the video, but what I can tell you that, of course, incident, I believe that video was shot on the 31st of March, 2016. If you recall, I told you that, of course, it was right in the media center that I briefed you when we entered that operation and when we captured Alagano. Alagano, of course, you know that Boko Haram claimed at the time that it was their spiritual center which we captured. Now, that video issues, of course, this is Alagano. You could see this is an aerial picture of Alagano. This picture, I had to ask that they send it to me after I got it. Just shortly before I came in, I asked that they should take that picture and quickly send it to me, and that's it. That's the location where our troops are. Now, during that operation, we had some difficulties, no doubt about it. Were there issues regarding soldiers fainting? Yes, there were. But then they were not because there was a deliberate move to ensure that troops do not have water. Troops had water. They had apart from water tanker that they have, we equally were ferrying drinking water to them, including bottled and sachet water. That, maybe I don't think it's necessary for me to go into the details. Perhaps during the question and answer period, it's essential that perhaps you could ask questions. But let me take a pause and then give you a video clip. Just while they sent, they also asked that they should interview the soldiers in that location to send to us today. So just a few video clips, just a minute or so, quickly, of the troops that are in Alagano. I don't know whether that shows that soldiers are hungry and dehydrated. Well, that's if you want to be a soldier, this is what you are likely to.
The theater commander there.
Enjoy what
Details of successes being recorded by troops in the theater. You can see they are well catered for. He's dispelling the rumor that is making the rounds that troops are in a very terrible condition. So these pictures are there for everyone to see that the troops are in high spirit and indeed ready to exterminate Boko Haram from their hideout across the northeast.
Okay, perhaps go to the next one quickly, so that. When eventually, after that operation, after that incident, and the place was captured in consolidating, we sent a driller, a borehole driller, to go to the location, and we dug a borehole. There are two boreholes, one there and one in another location that is close by. There's a third one. Anyway, no need. I think the point is made. Now, I thought it's essential for you to know military operations, they're not tea party. Being a soldier is not being an air-conditioned office. In our training, there's what we call survivor training. There's also what we call water discipline. The reason why you do that is to prepare for exigencies, that in case all the contingencies that you have made fail, what happens? Now, what is even interesting is that when that report was made, a bit of inquiry, I instituted a board of inquiry. When I instituted the board of inquiry, what we found out was that the soldier who was in charge of the water tanker felt that he needed to heed. In fact, he hid the fact that there was still water left in the water tanker to the rest of the troops. The board of inquiry report is here. Is here. And he was indicted, and he was charged and punished. So if something that happened, they captured the location on the 28th of March. and this video was shot on the 31st of March. And today, of course, which was yesterday that this video came out, which was 20th of December, what's the intent? I think that I leave you to, but again, that does not imply that in military operations we don't have challenges. Of course there are challenges. And I think that even what this video, in my view, shows is the part of the difficulties that military operations, what you encounter during military operations. The last time we met, I was talking about construction of roads. In fact, even the construction of roads we just embarked upon. If there were roads, will we be bogged down by even our logistics supply? No. So it is rather for us to begin to know what the challenges of development are and what plans we must make as a people, as a nation. And I think that it's essential for us to understand that we need not to blow issues beyond proportion. I believe that as well-informed members of the press, you know of the Frankenstein monster. The Frankenstein monster, the man who prepared the monster, eventually from the lab, he was first consumed. So when you come up with issues of this nature, you may be the first person to be consumed. Issues of national security must be placed in the right context and must be properly situated before people go to the social media to begin to show what ought not to. And I think this brings me to the next point, which of course, it's very disturbing. Thank God this video of yesterday has gone to also heighten what I'm about to say. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to observe the unfortunate development within a section of the media who have, knowingly or unknowingly, chosen the negative parts to incite the troops and denigrate the good efforts of Operation Lafiya Dole. Specifically, Premium Times have repeatedly shown a pattern of reports disparaging the very noble and gallant efforts of the troops. The paper has consistently worked in futility to cause disaffection among troops of Operation Lafiya Dole. During the setback in Gashaga, which I earlier informed the public, Premium Times worked to promote the evil action of Boko Haram terrorists by its publication. Every publication from Premium Times either eulogizes Boko Haram or mischievously emphasizes beyond proportion the challenges of Operation Lafiya Dole. The latest, and I want you to see, gunshots, confusion in Borno as soldiers fighting Boko Haram go on rampage. Nigerian Army General who lied about troops mutiny escapes lynching by soldiers. Now, what a hateful representation of the medium's wishes for the troops. Interestingly, on the said date of the mutiny, I was in the front line in the same location where Premium Times claimed that there was mutiny. This was me before we went, myself and the GOC, accompanied by the brigade commander, 21 brigade commander. Yes, this was why we were in and this was the location where I landed. Go on. These were the troops when I was waving at them. This is one of the troops with me there, a special forces soldier. Nest. These are the troops, and I had meeting with them. Nest. This nest. You can see them sitting down when I was addressing them. Of course, while others were in their various positions. Nest. Now, I was there in Bulabelu. Now, the issue is this. One may ask, could it be that Premium Times is working to frustrate the gains that have been made in this operation? Is the platform not happy that the war is coming to an end? Could they be working with Boko Haram terrorists to ensure that the morale of the troops are dampened at this crucial stage of ending the war? The rescue of over 1,500 people, capture of suicide bombers alive, among many other brave performances of troops, are they not worthy of Premium Times coverage? Was Premium Times established to promote evil and insecurity? These and many more questions are what the public may wish to find out from Premium Times. Whilst noting that the position of Premium Times is isolated, the rest of the media have shown patriotism, commitment, and support for the operation. I wish to therefore commend these patriotic media houses and urge them to continue in that regard. I equally wish to request the Nigerian Guild of Editors, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, as well as other well-meaning Nigerians, including those from the Northeast, to rise up and defend their national security interest that is being attacked using the instrumentality of the mischief being perpetrated by Premium Times. Now, before I give the concluding part, let me take our time to show you some of the clips from the air, what we've been doing within our air operations, very quickly. Very quickly, time. There are a few clips. No, this is an old one, a much older one. Go to the next. You are going to the one we've shown before. Quickly, do for it. Okay. I thought it's essential for you to see that our operations are comprehensive, taking into account, what we do on a daily basis and the need to give credible support from the air to the ground forces, and then the synergy that exists among all the components that are involved in this operation. Those are our strikes. Okay, perhaps we could just suspend that. Now, let me say to the members of the public that I urge you to all remain vigilant and report any suspicious movement of persons and objects to the military or the nearest security agencies, as I've always enjoined you to do. The general public, especially the female students of our tertiary institutions, are urged to be wary of the new subtle way of recruitment by Boko Haram terrorists on the internet. Do not fall victim of such trap by being their agents or sympathizers. You have the ability to grow and be productive. Do not join them in any way, because the Boko Haram terrorist ideology is ungodly, and the end always is a wasteful life. The Boko Haram may also disguise as menial workers when actually they are fleeing our onslaught. That, of course, the public needs to know, so that those that they may find around them who may be pretending to be menial workers could be Boko Haram terrorists. So on this note, let me thank everyone and state that we remain ever committed to the objective for which Operation Lafiya Dole has been mandated to be in the Northeast. Thank you.
That was Major General Lucky Irabor, the Theater Commander, Operation Lafiya Dole. He just gave an update to the press and indeed Nigerians on the counter-insurgency operations in the Northeast. He's about now going to be taking some questions from members of the press that are present. But before then, by way of summary, he gave details of fighting patrols both on ground and on air in several areas to apprehend and exterminate terrorists. He also disclosed that the maritime component will soon commence operations around the Lake Chad axis. The essence, I believe, is to enable returnees resettle since the areas have been liberated.
Do that effectively. But I know that Premium Times have been reporting the Nigerian Army's activity, most of it. And nobody has called Premium Times to praise them or to say well done, because it's our job. But sir, in the past 2 days, we've been hearing rumor, especially in the social media, that Shekau has been
Captured.
In fact, yesterday, a colleague of mine also called passionately that please give us the story. That's from another medium. I said no. If it is true, I believe you'll be hearing even from Abuja, but we will still find out from the horse's mouth. Is there anything that resembles the capture of Shekau, or are we close to catching Shekau since we have already entered or almost captured the entire Sambisa forest? And two, now that the troops are in control of Sambisa forest, what is the situation of the Chibok girls? Is there any sign that we will likely get them? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Hamza Suleiman, News Agency of Nigeria, sir. My question is on the troops, sir. Reports indicate that some of the troops, soldiers in the battlefield, have not been rotated for about 2 years, and thereby dampening on their morale. Some of them complain that they've not seen their family since 2 years ago. So when are we going to have the rotation of troops?
Thank you.
I'm Memina Garba from NTA. So I want you to shed more light on the 37 foreigners arrested. Are they also Boko Haram terrorists? Then what is the position with the Operation Rescue finally? Also, sir, is the operation going to be extended to other Boko Haram hideouts within the northeast?
Sorry, let me get the first is that
Okay, the first is the 37 foreigners.
37 foreign.
I want to know whether they are Boko Haram terrorists.
Yes. Then sorry, let me get the second again. You don't mind?
The second one, the position now with the operation.
Operation. Okay.
Then the third one
Is northeast. Whether it's going to enter the next. Okay.
Sir, my name is Ibrahim Gwamna, publisher Nightline Limelight. My question is regards to these 299 that were released to Borno State government. In the past, we know that the military had released so many people who had been screened and found not to have had any hand. I don't know whether you have any mechanism to monitor those people, because from our own findings, some of them are not really welcomed by the community, and it could be maybe a reason for them to go up to now join the insurgents, since they are not accepted by the community. I don't know whether the military is doing something about monitoring them, and then, if need be, to sort of find a way of really settling them somewhere else.
Thank you.
I am Fatimusa Abdullahi from NTA. Now that the war is almost coming to an end, do you require any kind of support from the public or any organization at all? And what kind of support do you require?
Thank you.
My name is Blessing Tuno. I report for Channels Television. Recently, we saw over the media promotion of officers, and I would like to know if it extends to, the soldiers on the front line. Did they also benefit from the recent promotions? Thank you.
Yeah, afternoon, sir. My name is Bodun Kayode of the Nigerian Tribune. The 7 kidnapped, are they part of the 37 foreigners or part of the 1,880, which you gave us a breakdown? And what is the sex of them? Are they all women? Thank you.
Kidnapped or kidnappers? Okay. I didn't say kidnapped.
Okay,
How will I know
kidnappers.
who has been kidnapped?
Okay, kidnappers.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. Perhaps let me go through this. Abdul Karim. All right. Thank you. Yes, the same way you heard about the capture of Shekau is the same way I had. And in fact, I didn't even read the papers that day. I think it was, whether it's Tribune or so. The Sun, okay. I was told, and I didn't get to see it. So, and of course, calls came, and even some say congratulations. I say, congratulations for what? I say, you capture Shekau. I say, look, I'm waiting for, they said there are some hunters. So I said, okay, I've ordered all my commanders to be on the alert to receive the hunters from that. Is it a mountain? So that's it. So perhaps there's nothing like that. For the Chibok girls, yes, this has always been our expectation that of all, like in the past 1 week now, the 1,880 that we rescued, we're hoping that the Chibok girls will be there. So, but we're very hopeful. The operation is not over yet, and it continues. So I believe that in due course, we will get to rescue the Chibok girls. Hamza, the rotation of troops, you're very right. Some of our troops, you have some of them who have spent 2 years. That's very true. And some even over 2 years. Again, that's part and parcel of why this is a collective responsibility to ensure that this madness comes to an end. So that the soldiers themselves, I have not seen my family for a long time. My daughter has been in school. She's now on holidays, but I have not seen her. My son too, the same thing. So throughout the period she spent in school, I never set my eyes on her. This period that she'll be on holidays, I'm not likely to see her. So it's all part of the challenge that, in my view, that altogether we must, and I'm not complaining, and I think the soldiers are not complaining because they also understand that these are issues for which we've been called to undertake based on the oath of allegiance that we have sworn to defend anywhere, anytime. So that's it, and we're here. But for us, for me as the commander, of course, I take I make, along with my colleagues, we'll take every measure to ensure that issues of welfare are solved, and those that, of course, require very urgent in the sense of, depending on the gravity of it, some measures have been taken to ensure that the impact is not beyond proportion. But yes, we will, and thankfully, the Chief of Army Staff, which I've also told you in his good message, indicated to the troops, and which we have assured them repeatedly, that come next year, we will begin to see a downward size of troops. So that, of course, will mean that there will be rotation of troops. Memuna, the 37 foreigners, we are still profiling them to know whether they are members of Boko Haram or not. For foreigners, it's easy. For those who are Nigerians, it's easier because we're able to trace them to possibly their roots. But for foreigners, you need to you have to have a lot of engagement with the foreign partners, talking about the members of the Lake Chad Basin Authority, for them to, give you, data, relative to those who are in the custody. So that is ongoing, and in due course, we'll let you know. On the position of the operation, of course, that's the whole essence of this press briefing, to let you know a day-to-day account of what we've done and what is left to be done. As I speak to you, quite a lot is happening, and I think that before the next 48 hours, some good news will begin to roll out. Again, in due course, I'll get back to you on them. The operation that we're conducting, even though the focus is on Sambisa, is not limited to Sambisa. It's the entire theater of operation. That's why right in the lineup of activities that I touched on, I made mention of the Tumbus and talked about the Dogonchuku, which our troops operated. So that's in the north. So it's not. I also talked about Gulumbagana, where we went to. That is not in Sambisa. That is, of course, sharing border with Dikwa local government as well as Bama, and part of Kalabagi local government. I hope that's now, Gwamna, the 299 that were released, that they are not welcome in society. Again, it's not actually something that the military should speak on. But of course, we can add our voice. And I think that this engagement we're having is all part of that collective effort to ensure that the people too need to understand the circumstances that have led to the release of those who we believe, based on the intelligence available to us and the due diligence we have taken, to have them released to the community. It's not going to, the trauma that this madness brought to the populace is not going to go out overnight, but it requires continuous engagement and dialogue that will lead to it. I think that perhaps this is a good opportunity to call on other stakeholders to begin to do something to see how we'll begin to see ourselves together and begin to welcome. This is love season. This is season of love, sharing. It is because someone loved you and I that even when he knew that, that in quotes, you are not deserving, but he died for you. So it's the same way. I want to possibly use this opportunity to call on all well-meaning people of the Northeast and BORNE in particular to begin to see this along this path. And of course, we can also work out better ways of approaching the issue to ensure that the trauma, the level of trauma is reduced, and we'll begin to see ourselves to be bound together in love, as we have always been. BORNE is the home of hospitality. Hospitality can only come when you are receptive. So if we don't receive our own, then there's a problem. I think that is something that all of us together we can work out. And I think in due course that I know that some action is being taken in that regard. Support from the public and what? I thank you for your question. Look, the issue that was purported in that video, it was because there's no road. Now that we're engaged in road construction, that is not a core mandate of Operation Lafiya Dole. And if I had additional tools, by way of, I know that there are individuals within the Northeast, for example, across Nigeria, and I think this is a challenge to them. If by tomorrow somebody says, I heard you on television, you needed bulldozers. Tomorrow I'm bringing in 10 bulldozers and 10 graders, brand new, delivered here. We're not asking you to go and bring money. That will do. Since, of course, we also know that government is doing something. But again, I can tell you that everything shouldn't be left in the hand of government because the resources are scarce. Individuals, it's a corporate responsibility. So if it's a collective responsibility, then you must also understand the part that you need to play. I cherish each time I get a report of the support we're getting from the populace by way of giving us information that has helped our operation. I'm elated. But beyond that, now is a stabilization phase that we're transiting into. We must begin to reconstruct communities. That is not a military duty. We must begin to construct roads, repair the roads. Look at now, Utah season. For those of you who came from somewhere outside of Maiduguri, what is the road condition like between Maiduguri and Damatru? Very bad. Or let me even say to Benishek. What's it like? From Maiduguri here to Damboa, terrible road. On a daily basis, it keeps getting spoiled. But again, with tools of this nature, we could carry out, basic repairs that could enhance the socio-economic activities of the people. And the summation of all this aggregates to the overall security of the Northeast and by extension, the country and its sub-region in general. So I think that equipment of this nature, they're very useful. Of course, the issue of also giving out credible support is also very essential. And then reporting accurately, doing due diligence in your reportage is also very useful. It's what I also request of you. If you get an information, you need to cross-check. What is this? Rather than you taking it to the public space, where you know that emotions can be aroused. People can easily be incited for what reason? And at the end of the day, when you eventually find out the true position of things, then of course you have known that things ought not to have been that way. Of course, the damages that may have been caused, what is it? Just like a few weeks back, a good number of us were inundated with a clip of a lady that was claimed to have participated in armed robbery. They put a picture of the lady that was well-dressed, another one that was naked, and only for later on, and I think the following day, those who knew her said, look, that she's a qualified nurse who is working in the UK and all that. You can imagine that kind of damage. But there are people who still hold the belief that she is an armed robber. That's the kind of thing, where that such things could cause. Now, on promotion, I think that many more, of course, of support will be required. On promotion, yes, over 4,000 of our soldiers were promoted earlier on, and more are still coming. So before the officers were released, the ones for the soldiers were actually released. So we're going to have many more promotions. That has been promised, and the processes are on. For the kidnappers, Kayode, can I get a question properly? Because you said for the kidnappers. No. We're talking about kidnappers, those who based on the anti-kidnapping operations we also conduct around Bauchi, Gombe, Azis. Those are the ones I refer to in my coverage. Yes. Any more? Any more? Yes, please.
My name is Dole. I write for Nigerian Party. So among the 4,000 soldiers promoted, is it nationwide or within the North?
No, Northeast. I'm talking about those under my supervision. Northeast. Any more? Well, any more? All right, let me once again thank you for your understanding that you've shown over the years and over this period that we're conducting this operation. What I can assure you is that peace that has come will be sustained. And what possibly I can use this opportunity to tell the rest of the populace, and of course beyond the Northeast, is that you have a part to play. You have a credible part to play. There are contributions you can make. Just again, if I may also go back to this Premium Times issue, just a few days back, there was an NGO that came to donate a few items. Now, there were a lot of items that were contained in that bag. But what Premium Times, and look, Abdul Karim, don't take it personal. What Premium Times took out of it is that soldiers fighting war were given sanitary pad. What about other items that are there? Why more? What's sanitary pad? Are you implying that because they're in the front line? I mean, such things. I mean, for God's sake. These are men. Look at the contributions. Look at the video that I've just told you that the men in the front line, shot today and sent to me. Look at that condition. Look at the area picture that we took, right in the thick of the forest. And they've been there for the past 7 months. All because they want peace to return. I think the least that we can give to them is encouragement. And those who are leading them should also be encouraged. I don't ask anybody to hold forth for me if I err in my position as the theater commander. No, not at all. But I know that I, at all times, relative to the oath that I've sworn, live up to my responsibility, not just as a general, but as a commander of Operation Lafiya Dole. So on that note, let me thank all of you for all that you've done by supporting us, and to also let you know that all our officers, the senior, both the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, and the Chief of Defense Staff, they have always had us at the back of their mind at all times as we conduct this operation. So let me once again thank you and appreciate that you have been a very valuable stakeholder in this part towards peace in the Northeast. Once again, thank you.
On this note, we have come to the end of this press conference. I wish you Johnny Mercies back home.
We've come to the end of the press briefing, which was addressed by the Theater Commander, Operation Lafiya Dole, Major General Lucky Irabor from the Military and Command Center in Maiduguri, Borno State, Northeast Nigeria. The briefing was on military engagements to combat terrorism in this region. And for the theater commander, the days of remnants of Boko Haram terrorists are numbered. We thank you for staying tuned. On behalf of the production and transmission team, I am Lami Ali, inviting you to enjoy the rest of our programs on the largest television network in Africa, the NTA.